should know this well. Ain't trying to wish you ill. Hope this life treats you swell. Oh yeah, PS, go fuck yourself.
What's going on, everybody? My name is Hajilicious. Welcome back to my prediction series. Today we're taking on the Week 13 NFL matchup of Raiders versus Bills. But first, let's get into the Panthers game, where the Raiders have finally, after 14 long years, have broken the streak and secured a winning season. I cannot explain to you how absolutely happy I am to see the Raiders at 9-2 after the 35-32 nail-biting win against the Carolina Panthers. And this game was one game that almost wrecked me emotionally as I watched it. Derek Carr and Khalil Mack. I need to break out a thesaurus because I'm running out of words to describe these two. We're going to start with DC here. DC had an immaculate game. He threw for 315 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception with 100.2 passer rating. And my God, Derek Carr had himself, stat-wise, it wasn't, the biggest, best game he's had, especially after, some of the big games we've seen from him prior. But this was his Brett Favre moment. This was the moment where he earns the respects of players across the league, players on his own team, where you win over the haters. In the second quarter, I want to say it was the second snap of the second quarter, something happened between Rodney Hudson and Derek Carr, and they fumbled the snap, and Derek Carr dislocated the pinky on his throwing hand. And by dislocated, I thought it was broke. That thing was bent in 3 different directions. It looked like Derek Carr was throwing up gang signs. It was fucking nasty. If he would have waved that thing in the air, somebody from the crowd would have shot him. It was just some nasty looking shit. And the look on my face and the look on Raiders fans around the world was the same. You could just see the color being drawn out of the faces of Raiders fans when the guy that has wielded their team to a 9-2 record now has gone down with injury. That right there, the second that happened, I was ready to burn a candle for the 2016 season. Like, we're done. This is it. This is our guy, and I'm gonna go off on a little tangent here while I'm thinking about it, because Derek Carr has cemented himself in the middle of the MVP race right now. And one argument I have made, because I believe his biggest competition right now for the MVP win would be Matt Ryan. And I understand Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott are right there with him, but one argument I'll make against those two is combined with the Dallas offensive line. If you took Dak out of that lineup and put Romo in, I still think they're winning games. If you take Zeke out of that lineup and put Alfred Morris in, I still think they're winning games. You take Derek Carr off the Raiders, we're not winning a fucking game, ever. He is the reason the Raiders are 9-2 right now. He is our MVP as the Raiders, and I told you last week to book this guy as the MVP. If he doesn't win this MVP this year, I don't know what else this guy needs to do. Because after he dislocated his finger, he went back to the locker room, popped that sucker in place, put a glove on it, and came back out to the field. And there was a quote I saw from Jack Del Rio, and I'm going to take it out of context. I don't have it directly in front of me. But after he came out, the roar, you could hear it on the TV. And usually crowd noise doesn't affect the TV so much, but my God, Del Rio was like, when he heard that roar, he's like, I could see Khalil Mack, and the only other person that's got a roar like that is Charles Woodson, and he's in the booth right now. So he knew that was a good sign that number 4 was coming out of the tunnel, because that was like it's something out of the movies when he came back, because that was like watching, some pro wrestling match that's about to go bad, and then all of a sudden Stone Cold's music hits and he comes running out, because that's what it felt like to the Raiders fans, because it was, this kid is a player. He is a baller. He's a pimp, and I'm running out of things to say about DC, because every week he impresses me even more. He came back in. He had an interception on his first series, but after that, Carmania was running wild on fools. Like, he was out there dishing it up, got the touchdown, brought the Raiders back, and then handed the ball over to the defense, which the defense has been suspect this year. I'll give it that. But Khalil Mack had himself a game. Between him and Carr, like these two guys are just sometimes inhuman. Khalil Mack finished the day with 6 tackles, a pick 6, a strip sack fumble recovery on Cam Newton to seal the game that he dabbed on. He dabbed on Cam after he strip sacked him. We'll just that right there was like one of those things where you kind of just double tap your heart and like, yeah, boy, that's what's up. God, Jesus Christ, like we needed a win. Khalil Mack came out and delivered. He was just a force to be reckoned with. 4th and 10, he comes through. Like, my God, like his fingerprints were all over this game. Everything Derek Carr did to win this game, Khalil Mack did to help put it away. I mean, he was a man on a mission tonight. Him and Bruce Irvin, Jihad Ward had a couple good pressures I saw. I mean, the Raiders, I was worried about this game, and I called it a trap game. I didn't think the Panthers, I was wrong. I thought the Panthers were going to win this game, and for a lot of the game, it looked like they were going to do that because they're one of the teams with a strong running game and a strong tight end along with a mobile quarterback that I feel like that's kind of the recipe to beat this Raiders defense, especially starting this week. And I didn't have it in my last video because the news came kind of late, but Pat Riley and David Amerson were held out of this game, which I thought was going to be a big deciding factor. Granted, the Carolina Panthers were out without their defensive quarterback, Luke Kuechly, but it didn't matter. There's something when you watch Derek Carr and when you watch this Raiders team, you see something special happening. And this is something I haven't seen. I mean, I've seen teams win before. I've seen teams do some crazy shit. But, man, what Derek Carr is doing out there is special. What he's doing with this Raiders team is special. And the Raiders have secured their first winning season since 2002. It's been 14 fucking years since the Raiders have done that. And they're back on top, and they have their eyes set on the prize. Playoffs, Super Bowl. Like, I did not think this year would be a Super Bowl year, but they are on that track. I'm still holding my reservations. I'm still going to temper my expectations here. But my God, what they're doing is, I mean, they're winning games in improbable fashion. But they're doing, like, Derek Carr, another fourth quarter comeback. I'm pretty sure he leads the league in the last 2 years in fourth quarter comebacks. I want to say coming into this game, he was either one shy or tied with Matt Stafford. And, I mean, with a broken pinky, this dude comes back and beats the Carolina Panthers. Like, man, let's just move on from this game because this was a legacy game for Carr. This is the game, one of the games they're going to look back this year when they're deciding who's the MVP, and they better pick our boy because DC is the reason why the Raiders are where they're at. I mean, Khalil Mack is the second reason, but without Derek Carr, we're not winning. We're not winning football games. We'd be a good team with Khalil Mack. I mean, but you put Matt McGloin under center, we're not getting the same results. And if anybody who thought that saw the first couple series from McGloin today, that should put all the criticism to rest because DC's our leader. He's just a motherfucking badass. So let's move on to this week's game against the Bills. Bills just beat the Jaguars. LaShawn McCoy had himself a day. He had like 2 touchdowns, a little over 100 yards. This team is another team built like Carolina. Had a good running game. Got a mobile quarterback. Tight end plays pretty good. However, I'm not scared of the Bills as much as I am Cam Newton and the Panthers. Obviously, Cam made it to the Super Bowl last year. They're having their hangover year this year. But I still feel like that the Carolina Panthers with Ron Rivera are a better coached, more disciplined team and a more, outside of Cam Newton, more competitive than Rex Ryan's Bills. There's something about Rex Ryan's defenses are really good, but for whatever fucking reason on offense, that guy just never seems to get it going. He's had a couple good games this year, coming off the backs of LaShawn McCoy where they're putting up 30 points. But this game, I think we should have Emerson back this week. I know the commissioner, Roger Goodell, is supposed to make a ruling sometime this week. I'm not sure if it's going to be the actual ruling or just letting us in on what's going on with Aldon Smith's case, but I mean, it would be the biggest boost to a team that doesn't have a lot of pass rush right now outside of Mack and Irvin to get Aldon Smith back. Mario Edward Jr. is still on the shelf. I have no idea what's going on with him. The coaching staff, Jack Del Rio, is keeping that really close to the chest. So my thing with Aldon Smith and MEJ right now is both Mario and Aldon I'm kind of moving forward with in my head as I'm prepared to go out the rest of the season without them. And I would suggest the rest of you Raiders fans out there listening do the same. Because right now we can't hold hope that either one of these guys are going to come back. We got to deal with what we have right now. And right now, that's a defense that is, I think, performing a little above average with Mack and Irvin, and the secondary starting to shore up and gel together. But this team runs through the offense, and I don't think the Bills' defense is going to be able to completely shut out Carr. Because what I've seen from the Raiders over the last couple of weeks has been, if you take away one aspect of the Raiders' offense and try to shut that down, they're going to take you to the woodshed with the rest of the offense. You know, we've seen people try. We haven't seen anybody successfully eliminate Cooper and Crabtree in the same game, which I'm not sure if they're going to, because if one of them disappears during a game, the other one's balling out. And if the receivers aren't having a good day, the tight ends and running backs are coming out. You know, if the receivers and running backs, like we saw last week in Houston, are having a bad day at their positions, we saw the running backs catching balls. You know, there seems to be always an option. And under this offense ran by Derek Carr, I'm more every week, more and more faith in this team, because I've been waiting for them to, quote unquote, Raider up a game and just go fuck some shit up like we're used to seeing. But it's just not happening. I thought the injury to DC was going to be it. I thought this was where our season ends, but that motherfucker just Brett Favre'd it and came back, won the game. That guy's a gunslinger. I just don't. The Raiders are doing something special right now. I don't think a lot of teams have an answer to it. I mean, obviously we're not, untouchable, as we have losses, 2 losses to the Falcons and Chiefs. But what we're seeing right now is growth. We're seeing improvement. And no matter how if we finish 9-7, you still have to look at this game, this year, as a complete victory, because next year we have another draft, and then I think it's like 30 or 40 million in free agency space. So that problem that we have with interior defensive line, right tackle, and middle linebacker should all be solved next year. So like this team right now, in my mind, has overachieved immensely compared to where I had them. Like right now, they're on pace for 12-4, 13-3. Like I had them at 11-5, and I thought that was being homer as fuck, because everything that this Raiders team is about has just come to fruition. Like that offensive line, I don't think a lot of teams in the league put the money on the offensive line like they should. Like you look at what people who see what the Cowboys are doing and the Raiders are doing, and they're all surprised by it. I'm like, no, you shouldn't be. You should know more about football if that's so surprising to you. The Raiders and the Cowboys run their team through the lines. Their offensive lines are bigger than you, they're meaner than you, they're badder than you, and they're stronger than you. And they're going to come out there and bully you. And that's why we run 4 to 7 blockers, 5 to 7 on top of the original line. Like it could be 2 tight ends, they could bring in Denver Kirkland, an extra tackle, whatever it is. They run these jumbo sets 40 to 50% of the snaps, where it makes them really hard to defend against, because even though they only got 2 wideouts out there, 2 wideouts, a running back, 2 tight ends, they still have shit tons of options, and they use them. Like the Denver game, they ran 2 plays against Denver, an off-tackle play and a power run up the middle, that they ran over and over and over again. And you want to see the telltale sign of an elite offensive line? Run the same fucking plays against a professional football team where they know it's happening, but then they can't do anything about it. That's what we're seeing right now with the Raiders. Is they're imposing their will upon other teams that, hey, we're going to next play, we're going to run off our left tackle, and that's what we're doing. Try to stop us. And people can't. People can't do it. The running game is just I don't consider our running game elite. We got Murray, Rashard, Washington, but the combination of those three is way more than enough that Derek Carr needs to keep defenses honest. And against the Bills and the Bills' defense, I think they're going to have their hands full. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I see this game I think this might be... Could this be a game where we, break 40? Is this... I'm just throwing that out there because, the Raiders are a 30-point scoring team now. I mean, they've had some defensive battles where their points aren't that high, but when games get out of control like this, especially like they did against the Cam, I don't think we're going to break 40, though. Let's do something like 38-28. How's that sound? 38-28 Raiders. Raiders are going to improve to 10-2. I just don't think the Bills, like I said, I just don't think the Bills really fucking have what it takes. They're not... they're good. They're just not, It's... I don't feel the same this week as I did last week. Fuck, man. Panthers are just in the Super Bowl. They're still a good team. You got to be scared of Cam and Greg Olsen. Was thinking Kuechly until he got held out. But, LaShawn, if they can keep LaShawn McCoy in check, I don't think Tyrod Taylor and Sammy Watkins are going to beat AC/DC and Crabtree. Cooper and Crabtree have to be the most underrated duo in the NFL right now. They're the best wide receiver duo in the league, and they're just not getting any love. Same thing with Bruce Irvin and Khalil Mack. Those guys are, I think it's 12 or 13 sacks between the two of them. Granted, Mack's got 9 of them, but this team's got some fucking players on it that are just playing at such a crazy level right now. And as a Raiders fan, as somebody who sat through the dark days as long as I have, to see this much talent and this kind of winning nature in the Raiders is fucking weird. And that's some loserish shit to say, but this team has disappointed me for fucking a decade. And I've sat there and watched every single game and have, thought, man, hopefully, I hate to admit, I have a Denarius Moore jersey, for fuck's sakes. That's how bad I've wanted a receiver on this team at the quality of Cooper and Crabtree, that his fucking fingertip catch that he had in San Diego in 2012, I went out and bought his jersey afterwards. I was like, that's our fucking guy. And that's the kind of shit the Raiders have been putting me through, that when I see people like DC and Cooper and Crabtree, I'm like, and Khalil Mack and Bruce Irvin, I'm just like, holy shit. The Raiders, they're back. We got a good fucking team. We got a good nucleus, good core. So we're just going to go with that. We're going to do 38-28. Raiders are going to pick up their 10th win of the season, as fucking crazy as that is to sound. Let's keep a hold of this division. I want to see the Raiders. I don't want the Raiders to take the division from the Broncos as a wildcat in the playoffs and not come off there. I want them to take them out of the playoffs. I want them to be the first or second seed. I think it's going to be a little difficult to catch the Patriots at this point because I don't think the Patriots are going to drop many games. I still feel like the Raiders are in for a little bit of a skid. I don't know why. I have no evidence to prove towards that except for my own, superstitions about how this Raiders team is. But I'm more basing that off of how the Raiders have been in the past, because what we're seeing out of Jack Del Rio's Raiders is not what we've seen out of Dennis Allen, Tony Sperano, even Hugh Jackson. This is, we're here. We're back. Raiders are going to win this next game against the Bills. It's a home game, so let's go with that. Hopefully we don't drop a stinker at home, but let's go 38-28. Do that, but thanks for watching, guys. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. As always, go fuck yourselves and go Raiders.